So today's project is going to be on this little triangle pencil case. And there we go. And you can see it fits quite a bit in there. That's not a lot that I have in there right now. So it's a partial in the hoop. You do most of it in the hoop, but you will be sewing this side seam and you will be sewing this side seam on a regular machine. And you can see in this one, it's nice because the back portion is nice and high, so it holds a pencil sharpener. And my kids actually like them because they tell me that they don't actually roll off the desks that they use. I guess sometimes the desks are angled, and so that is one of the reasons that I did that. And you can use a vinyl on the top half if you want. It is just a little more difficult to turn and get the ends pointed out as they should be. So you can see with this one, I did not use zipper. That was a standard zipper and had a zipper stop at the end. So if you do use zipper tape, that's more what your end will look like. And this one, I did the zipper at the bottom. However, it's not as nice as the ones with the zipper at the top. So it sits a lot nicer when it's like that on the desk. All right, so this is what we'll be doing today. So I hope you follow along and will enjoy the project. The things you will need for this triangle zipper pouch are, for the top half, you need one piece of outside main material. I do have that lined with an SF101 Pellon. I do that to most of my fabrics. You will need a bottom half piece for that outside, and again, it's lined with SF101. You need a lining piece for the whole, that will cover the whole thing. And then you will need a zipper. You can use a zipper that is zipper tape, but the thing is, you will need to put at the end of your zipper tape the zipper stop. You'll need to get your zipper tape out and done that way so that you have this little zipper tape tail at the end, because it's going to be folded over. It makes it easier sewing. You can use it the other way if you're okay with the zipper tape kind of bunching like this as you put the case together. But for this one, I designed it more like this, that you can use a standard pre-made zipper. And then you need, if you're going to do one that is a standard, you do need to either cut it at the end, or you need one that's a little bit longer so that you won't have to cut it and reinstall the zipper pull. But you can, it's easy enough. And then you need two tabs, which will be like little tab loops to hold on to, and you need a piece of batting and some stabilizer. Let's get started. The first step was to run the placement stitch, and I have gone and done that. And there are a couple of little notched lines that are in here, and they will be used to put the batting in. This, not the batting, the main material is this one, and this one and this one is for the tab. You'll notice that one side is longer than the other side, and that longer side is the top, and that shorter side is what I call the bottom, and then these would be the two sides where the zipper is going to be. The next step is to put in the batting and tape that down or spray adhesive it and take it back to the machine and run the batting tack down. Alright, so the batting tack down has been done, and it runs all along, and it does a stitch up the center of it, and that is a placement for the main material for the outside. So this is considered the top, and then I'm considering this the bottom. And the next thing to do is to cut out the batting. Now that the batting has been cut out around, and you need to cut it close, what I have used for a batting is a fusible fleece, and it's a black fusible fleece, and the fusible side is up and the fuzzy side is kind of on the bottom. And I do that so that when I'm adding my next piece, I can iron it onto the batting, and it is going to hold it in place for me. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to add the main bottom piece of fabric, and that will go, let's see which way. So this piece, the edge gets lined up to the edge of the line on the batting, and instead of lining it up just to the edge, put it just over the edge, and that will help tack it down with the next stitches, which will be a stipple stitch. And I just find it easier. You can tape it, you can spray adhesive it. I just find it easier to use a fusible and then fuse this. All right, so we'll take it back to the machine and then we'll be doing the stipple stitch. The stipple is now done, and let's get a close-up, see if we can see what that looks like. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to add the top part of the bag. So if you remember, there is a tack down line here that we went over, and for the top piece of the bag, you just take that and you line it up again to that same line just over, and then you take it back to the machine and you run the tack down stitch that will hold those two together. Okay, I went to the machine and I ran that tack down stitch to hold these two pieces together. There it is right there. And the next thing that we have to do is we have to flip it up. So you can either spray adhesive, tape it, or iron to the fusible fleece if you have it. And then you take it back to the machine and you run the tack down stitch that is going to hold all of these and is going to give the outline to which we will attach the zipper to. Alright, so I went and I ran that tack down stitch that you can see goes all the way around the whole bag. And the next thing that we have to do is we need to attach the zipper. So the zipper can be the standard style zipper, or you can use the zipper tape if you prefer, but I do suggest having these top zipper stops so that you can have a little bit of the extra tape at the top here and get a nicer finished edge when you're trying to stitch it together. It makes things a lot easier. Now you can use one of these, however, for this type of a embroidery, you need to make sure that it's a very long one so that you could place one up here and one down here, and then it's not going to pull the two of them apart. See what I mean? So you would just need to make sure that the zipper is long enough to be able to do that. And I can probably do it with this one. I thought I was, this is only a 14-inch, so it is a little small for that. But I am going to give it a shot and see if I can get this to work. Otherwise, you need to cut off the edge and then install the zipper pull back onto the zipper, which isn't a huge deal. It's just finicky sometimes. So what we need to do for this is with the zipper right side facing up, so the teeth side is up, the zipper pull is up, you put a little piece of glue or tape or whatever, however you want to stick this down. This is a little piece of Wonder Tape, double-sided sewing tape. And what you do is you take that piece with the double-sided tape and you, around the zipper stop, since this is a pre-made zipper, they're all really standard, you just turn it over and you push it down. So then you get this little triangle portion. So you can do it underneath if you prefer, but I think over works just as well. So you can see it's kind of at the zipper stop there. And then you do the same thing with the other side. The tape off. And you fold over and make your little triangle thing. So you can see that the edge kind of would be under with the little point of the triangle at the top. You don't need to fold it under, you just need to know that you have a triangle portion at the top there that would run along the edge. See, so that would line up with the edge there. Thank you, hope you can see that. And then that one would also line up there. And those two little point parts at the end here are what you're going to be lining up to the corners on here. Now, to install the zipper onto the bag, I recommend using the Wonder Tape, the double-sided sewing tape, or if you're going to tape it down, you need to tape it down really well so that it is going to stick in place, since the zipper is pulled in half and it's not all together, which makes it a little more difficult to get it to stay in place. Okay, I have put in the zipper, or in the double-sided sewing tape, and then to install the zipper, you need to, for this style, let me see, you got to make sure it's stuck really well. It's not sticking as nice as I would like it with that tape right now. And you need to have the zipper teeth face side down. So you need the bottom showing, and you unzip it, and then you line up that corner part. See where the corner meets right there? So the little pointed edge, you line that up to the corner. And you need to make sure that on both sides that it lines up exactly, so that when you're closing the bag, they will meet at a good angle, at the right spot. So I have that one stuck down to one side, and let's see if I can do it with this size zipper, sticking it down to the other side, making sure that it's matching up. And again, the point at the top here. Alright, let's have a closer look at the top portion. So you can see that the top corner of this lines up with the side and the top one of this, let's have a look, lines up with the side and the top. And the zipper is just a little short, so you can see it pulling a little bit here. So I'm just going to have to make sure when I do one side that it's held down, and then the other side will be held down. So I'm going to take it back to the machine and run the zipper tack down. Okay, you guys, I almost forgot a step. There actually is a stitch that goes right here as a decorative stitch to hold these two pieces down and together. Alright, I have run the little decorative edge that goes down there. And actually the next thing that gets run is the two tab areas that hold down, or the little tabs that get pulled out. And then after that is when the zipper goes on. The zipper goes last. So I'm going to go run the placement stitches for the tab, and then we can install those. So I went and I did the first placement stitch right here for the loop top tab, and it is 1 inch long, so you can add a wider one if you prefer. I used about a 1/2 inch piece here, a little 1/2 inch gross grain ribbon, and I put a little piece of the double-sided tape to keep it together, and one side has a folded loop. And another thing that I usually do when installing something like this is I actually use a lighter and I heat the edges just a little bit. It helps keep it together and it stops it from fraying. So then you take this little loop with the loop side facing into the bag, and you place the outside edges over the placement stitching where you want it to go. So you could put it at the top, in the middle of that, or at the bottom. It all depends on where you want it, but in there it should work just fine. And however much you want sticking into the bag is how much you would, or however what you want showing on the outside of the bag is what you will be putting inside. And I do use a 3-inch piece and fold it in half, but this one I would like it to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to put it there, and then I'm going to take it back and run the tack down stitch. And with that tack down stitch, it's also going to do the placement stitch on the other side for the next piece of tab looped ribbon. Okay, so I went and I ran the tack down to keep this one in place, and then I came over and I ran the, well, I didn't, it's part of the sequence, so it runs the placement stitch over here for the next loop. And this loop actually is in the center of the bottom of the bag, so it really needs to be centered well. And if you remember at the beginning, there were these 2 notches that were coming out this way. So this is the long portion, this is the short portion. There were 2 notches coming out there. So what I did was I took those notches and I drew out the lines so that I could see through, and you can see it coming through here, and you can see it coming through over here. And then that will allow you to get the center placement. That's a little easier. So that you will have a center of where that little loop needs to be placed. So the same thing, you put this together, I burn the edges, and then you find the center of this one, and you put that again just over where you would like it to go, and make sure that this particular tab is centered, and take it back to the machine and run the tack down stitch for this one. Alright, so the tack down, the placement and tack down were done on this little loop, and now is when the zipper can get added. Alright, so here is what it looks like before I take it back, and I'm going to run the 2 tack down stitches for the zipper. So you can see it's lined up in the corner. The little corner is right in the corner, and this one's right in the corner. And again, I'm going to have to watch where I stitch because this isn't quite a long enough zipper to pull it apart. Alright, so it was back to the machine and the zipper tack down along the edge was done. All along the edge there, and all along the edge on this one. It's hard to see because it's white on pink. And then the next thing that has to be done is actually the last step for the hoop. You put the backing piece on, that's the lining, and this one has an SF101 on the back, like I usually do, and the right side faces the right side of the fabric, and you put it down over everything, and then you tape it or pin it in place, which is what I like to do, but just make sure your pins are out of the way. And then you take it back to the machine and you run the final stitches that are going to hold this onto the zipper here and onto the zipper here, and these 2 ends are going to be open. Okay, so the tack down of the zipper and the lining and the front material is all done. And now the hooping part, the machine embroidery part, is done. And to put the bag together, you need to sew these 2 edges, which are open currently. This one's open and this one's open. So we need to take it out, and it needs to be sewn on a regular machine to get that triangle pencil case shape. So I have taken off the tearaway stabilizer, and we need to cut out the bag. So to cut it out, you use the lines which are done on the main bag piece. So there's nothing to follow on the lining. So on the main bag piece, you need to cut it out along the zipper part on the side. So you can cut it along the edge of the zipper that is showing there. So you just cut that there. And then for the side pieces, you follow the edge that is at the very end over here, and you cut that out. I wouldn't cut too much of the tab off because it's nice to have it inside for durability on both sides. And when you're cutting this side, you need to make sure that you don't cut off your zipper tape and teeth, otherwise you're going to have to reinstall the zipper pull on it, and that's a little harder to do when it's cut short like that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so the bag has been cut out, and you can see that the front, which is this, and the back portion all match. So the next thing to do is to take it, and we're going to be putting the zipper back inside a little bit. So you just pull your front and your back out from each other. So your lining is on one side and your exterior is on the other. And this is one of the reasons that having the zipper on the tape is just easy. It's just easy to pull inside the zipper where it needs to go. So if you are adding your zipper with zipper tape and you need to put the pull on, you just need to make sure that your zipper goes on the right side. So your zipper has to be obviously on the inside here where the main material will be. See, it's on the inside there. And you don't need to close it very much on the inside because you need a good amount that you're going to be able to turn the bag to the right side. So I have it inside there, and I have it just pushed in just a little bit. And now that the zipper is inside the bag, you can go ahead and cut off the extra zipper tape on this side. And then we are going to, so this is the top of the bag, and this part of the bag is going to be tall. So this one will get stitched this way. However, this part, which is the bottom part of the bag, the edge over here is going to get stitched flat. So what you need to do for this one, and I would do this one first, I just find it easier. You need to take it and you need the center, and you know where the center is because it's already marked. So you take that center and you match it up with the zipper teeth center. So it's going to be the right side of the material to the right side of the zipper teeth. So you just line that up and you just pinch down the corners here. So it kind of makes a little, I don't know, a little hole there. So you squish those out to the side and make sure those are lined up. And then you do the same thing with the lining portion of it. Okay, so let me just put a pin in here. Keep this in place. So that is all matched up. So the center of this matches the center of the zipper. And then you can find the center of this piece. I just give it a little clip. So then I know where the center is. So you can see that little notch there. I think you can see that little notch out there. So then I know where the center is, and then I take that and I match that to the center teeth on the underside of the bag. Okay, like that. And then again, you squish that out to the side. So those go out like that. This goes out like this. And then you pin that all together. So you can see that this side is laying flat and this side will be like this. And then you will take it to the machine and you will do a straight stitch across there. So this side is all open, the zipper's open, and these are all nicely lined up and squished. So you can easily find the seam allowance because you just followed along the batting stitch that is there. So this is the black batting that's showing, and you just give it a good straight stitch there, back at the front, back stitch at the start and the finish. And I would also go back and forth on the center a little bit to make sure that stays intact well. I will go do that and be right back. Okay, so I have gone and taken that to a regular sewing machine and I have done a straight stitch across all of there. It'd be easier to see on this side. So I've done a straight stitch all across there, holding it all together. And I am going to trim up this one just a little bit. I find it a little long. But I am going to go back with my lighter and seal up those edges so they don't fray on the inside there. Just to make sure it's all good. And then I just trim this a little bit. If you find it's going to be bulky, you can trim it up. So now you can see this side is all stitched in place and it's all open on this side still. And the zipper is still open. So what we need to do now is we need to do the stitch along here. And what you need to do for that one is you need to take this and you need to line up the seams. So you've got the seams on each side. Make sure the zipper portion lines up to where it should be so that when you have it closed, the zipper will match up nicely together. See there? So your zipper stop matches, right, in your teeth from the top, and then the seam matches. And put a little pin in it there. Okay. And then we need to mark the turning hole. So you can see again the seam allowance would be along the batting line. That's about 1/4 of an inch. And to make the turning hole, I find the easiest way to be on this type of a bag is to go ahead and mark about a 2-inch mark on the bag. So you can mark about 1 inch, you can mark about a 2-inch, however big of a turning hole that you feel you need. So you can see that's 2 inches there. And then you're going to be stitching all along here. So you're going to be stitching all in this seam. And then you need to come down this side and you need to stitch this portion. This portion will stay open because you need a turning hole. So now you can take it back to the machine. So do not sew this, leave this for the turning hole, and sew from here to the end. And then I will be back and we can turn it. So there we have it. I went and I stitched across there. Might be able to see it on this side a little easier. So it's all closed up. And then you can see that I still have my turning hole. There we go. And now the next thing to do is to turn it the right way around. All right, so there we go. I went in and I cut off a little bit of the bulky seam allowance that was right there. And then you just kind of roll everything into place and push all the corners out. So you push this bottom one out and you push this one out, and there we have it. you have a nice pencil case. So you can also, if you really wanted to, and you want to do a decorative edge along here, you could do that before it's sewn together. I find I can just push it down and it's okay. But if you wanted to add that stitching, you could go ahead and definitely do that before you stitch the pieces together, the sides. And the only thing left to do is to close the turning hole. So what I do for this type of turning hole, because it's at the very corner and it's at the back, so I don't actually mind this type of hole down at the corner. Often I hand stitch my corners, my turning holes closed, but with this one I am actually just going to take it back to the machine and I'm just going to run a stitch along there. So just make sure that it keeps kind of the curve of the bag, because you don't want it to be too bulky in the back there. So just make sure that it has the same curve that it did kind of on the inside. Well, it's not really a curve, but it's a bit of an angle. So you can go ahead and you can stitch that up and close the turning hole and it will be done. So I really hope that you guys like this. It's a cute little pencil case. Would make a great teacher gift, and the kids like it because it does not roll off their desk. So thank you for watching.